Lately, a word keeps coming up when regular people talk about everyday life in America: dystopian. It used to be reserved for sci-fi movies, but today it's how millions describe the feeling of just trying to get by. We're watching our personal cars turn into surveillance tools that track our eyes and biometrics, while massive corporations build data centers that drain our local resources against our will. From $1,800 one-bedroom apartments to $5 bread, the system feels less like a cooperative society and more like an extraction machine. People are exhausted and they're starting to see right through the charade.
Yeah. There's this truck coming here. Well, hold on. I'm gonna show you a video. It's a truck that drives by itself with three trailers. Yeah, but this truck coming in where I'm leaving, he's coming in right now.
All right, I gotta come on here and vent real quick. My wife got a new car through her work. It's a brand new, it's got no miles on it. Brand new 2025 or 2026, I imagine. Subaru Outback. And it's got the feature where it says, or it's the eyesight thing. So it's got a camera on the dash. If you veer off for 2 seconds, like if you look away like this, or if you're looking outside, I got mountains around us, right? So I'm looking at the mountains. It'll flash and beep and say, keep eyes on road. Changing my music on Spotify for 2 seconds and it's flashing saying, keep eyes on road. I get the idea of it, but this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in a car.
I really do think the continued push by billionaires to develop AI data centers at the complete outrage and resistance from the locals that would be impacted by said data centers is an indication that we are past pretending that we live in a democracy. We are fully in a plutocracy. I've been following really closely what's happening in Box Elder County, Utah, where Canadian billionaire Kevin O'Leary is trying to build the world's largest data center, a $100 billion project, okay? This would be the largest data center in the world at over 40,000 acres. And at full capacity, the data center, which is called the Stratos project, is set to use 9 gigawatts of electricity. More than double the entire amount of electricity used by Utah as a whole. Robert Davies, a physics professor from Utah State University, says that he actually thinks the project will require an additional 7 to 8 gigawatts of waste heat energy, meaning that the project in total will be 23 gigawatts of total thermal load energy, which is the equivalent of dropping 23 atom bombs in Utah every single day. Also, let's do a little climate change perspective. Since the turn of the 20th century, it is estimated that Utah's overall temperature has increased by 2.5 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? Now, Davies estimates that this project would increase Utah's daily temperature by 5 degrees and Utah's night temperature by 28 degrees. Right now, 90% of Utah is in a drought. Do you know what happens when you take one of the driest states in the nation that is already having 53% of the lake bed of Salt Lake exposed and you crank up the temperature even more? I feel like you can probably assume what happens. Now here's the decline of democracy part. Last week, Box Elder County officials held a meeting where they were going to vote on whether or not to approve this project, and hundreds of residents came to protest and to express their outrage. The commissioners did not allow public comment.
Only to be told commissioners weren't taking comments.
Why won't they let people talk? Why won't they let us ask questions?
They did not allow public comment from something that is set to completely destroy the environment in which these people live and pay their tax dollars. And then the county commissioners threatened to call the cops on these people.
I have law enforcement here who will remove you from the meeting.
And then they moved it to a virtual meeting so that there couldn't even be any public participation, where they unanimously approved the project.
Fed up with the resident uprising, the commissioners left the room to conduct the meeting virtually and promptly approved the project.
And here's something that I don't see people talking about is that in 2025, Utah passed a data center tax incentive. So all of the machinery used to create a data center will not be taxed. So Kevin O'Leary is getting a tax break to build his $100 billion data center using publicly available resources using these citizens' water. And then, in response to all this protest from the residents that live in Box Elder County, Kevin O'Leary had the audacity to say that those were paid protesters from out of state, which there is zero proof of.
We think over 90% of the protesters are actually not people that live in Utah or Box Elder County. They're being bussed in.
Because he is so full of shit. And he knows how detrimental this will be to the people that live in Utah and does not care at all. He's just pretending that there's no opposition to his project while he gets richer and the people that live in Utah die of thirst.
That little black notch right there at the top of your iPhone, guess what? It is not a camera. It is a full biometric mapping system. It's called the True Depth Camera System, and it projects over 30,000 infrared invisible dots onto your face, building a precise 3D model in real time. Not just your face shape, but your movement, your muscle movement, your eye tracking, your micro expressions. That is how Face ID recognizes you instantly. However, here's something interesting you may not know. That same data can be used to detect emotion, focus, fatigue, stress, engagement. Apple says that it stays on your device and they say it's encrypted. But let's, look out at the bigger picture for a second. Apple Inc. has filed patents around gaze tracking and attention detection. Ford Motor Company has patents for monitoring driver behavior and emotional state. Advertising platforms already optimize based on how long you look at something. Like there know if you stop, if you scroll, if you, change pages. So now let's connect all of those dots. A device that knows exactly where you're looking and how long you look and how your face reacts. This is crazy, and it's behavioral data at a level that we have never had before, and it goes way beyond security. But I kind of think the most important question isn't like what they're doing with it right now. It's what is going to happen with it when the policy changes. Because policies definitely change overnight once the innocent infrastructure is built, and the hardware is already just in our hands, and we are used to it. I don't believe this is about just unlocking our phones. I believe it's about training people to normalize being scanned, mapped, and read all day, every day. So that when we're finally in like the Minority Report phase of this Orwellian control, all of these conveniences will definitely be weaponized against us.
Not to alarm anybody, but what if this EPA thing that they just passed to put more ethanol in your gas and force everybody to use more ethanol gas? What if this is not to help your wallet? What if this is to clunk your car? What if this is Cash for Clunkers 2.0? Because what did we do? We just released all these new cars with the new technology that can read all this information about you and start when it wants to start and quit driving when it wants to quit driving and be controlled remotely. Now what are people wanting to do? Not buy a new car, they're wanting a couple-year-old car. Okay, but now we can't get the technology out to the consumer. So what do we need to do? We need to kill off all the older cars that it's controlling the used car market. How do we do that? We put more ethanol in the gas. What does that do? Ethanol burns hotter than petroleum. Ethanol combusts hotter than petroleum. What does heat do? It wears out your engine faster. It makes your car less efficient. It wears all the internal parts down, and it kerplunks your car. What does kerplunking the older used cars do? It kerplunks the used car market. What does kerplunking the used car market do? It forces people to buy new cars. Buy new cars with the new technology that can control your every move, that can read all your information.
After 8 months, I'm back in the United States, and it's incredibly dystopian. And I know this word is being thrown out a lot, but after being in Australia for 8 months and coming back, it's just mind-boggling. I mean, I'm currently in a state that has the lowest cost of living. I think there's only one state like Mississippi below the state that I'm in. This is where I was raised. This is where my mother is. But I'm driving down the street and I'm seeing cyber trucks, right? And it's so like sci-fi science fiction. Like there's this big metal truck that looks extremely futuristic. Yet it's dirty. Like it doesn't look clean. Like it's not a shiny truck. It actually looks like a truck that end of world, like Mad Max type feel, right? Yet people can't afford groceries here. They can't afford groceries. They can't afford to buy them. Gas is $4 a gallon. When I left, I swear it was half that. When I left, it was half that price. And it's just insane. Like I mean, everyone looks so tired and run down and mentally exhausted, as they should, like, and I'm only here for 2 weeks, but oh my goodness, it is such an out of body experience.
The United States really does feel like it is already collapsed. This feels like a failed nation that is just being propped up by a bunch of billionaires and corporations to keep milking the people. Because as far as a country providing functionality for its citizens, this country fails in almost every respect. We have no checks and balances, no separation of powers. We have a political system saturated in money and corruption. In fact, political bribery has been legalized in this country. Every single one of our political representatives, almost across the board, is bought and paid for. We have unaffordable housing, unaffordable healthcare, unaffordable costs of living. And meanwhile, we have militarized police and perpetual war that no one asks for. So anyway, this country, like I said before, already feels like it is a failed nation, and we are just going through a charade of functionality.
I just got done grocery shopping, and I'm telling you, things are becoming so dystopian, and like things are changing. My husband and I are going to retire in a very rural part of Michigan. So we come up here to our little cabin a lot, and it's 70% went to Donald Trump. And the city itself is in the bottom 10%, well, I should say top 10% for poverty. Anyway, it just felt so different. Everybody, I mean, the store was packed and everybody was moving so slow because like everybody was studying everything in shock. First, Meijer's, like so many grocery stores, was bombarding you with sale, 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 sale. And you know, you stop getting excited about it because when you look at it, yeah, you can buy 2 bags of cheese and get a third one free, but it still comes out to almost $5 for 2 cups of cheese. I mean, I bought 1 tomato for $2.50, a tomato. And it was like that everywhere. A loaf of bread now, if you wanted organic, was you couldn't find one for less than $5, but it had sale all over it. And I felt like, because I've grocery shopped here before, people who voted for Donald Trump, and they wear it proudly here, would walk around happy and cocky, right? Like winners. We're winners, as Donald Trump says. Nope. Nope. This price gouging, this economy is the great equalizer because we were all now in the same boat. And there was a lot of like sharing comments to each other, a lot of commentary between strangers, including with me. And then I noticed some Trump supporters, again, wearing their, like, you could tell from the tattoos and everything, they were so unhappy. Like that cockiness and happiness, they were so unhappy. And then checking out, like the workers there just were busy going from cash register to cash register because everybody would be like, this is supposed to be on sale for this much and it's coming up this much. And then they'd all have to explain all the fine print. And so it wasn't the deal they thought it was. And well, I can't take this now. Like they were constantly having to take products from customers who couldn't afford it. Like, this is bad. This is really bad. Let's see where this goes.
I want y'all to know something. Nothing about this society is normal. Having to work 2 jobs just so that you can make ends meet is not normal. Having to apply to 1,000 jobs just to get an interview is not normal. Our government not willing to help out its citizens is not normal. Our minimum wage being as low as it is not normal. Being in a society that requires you to have a car because they don't have a reliable public transit is not normal. Rent and grocery prices being as high as they are is not normal. Having to pay for higher education to go to college and university is not normal. The fact that our society has billionaires is not normal. Having to pay for health insurance is not normal. And then on top of that, still having to pay for medical bills is not normal. The fact that our country still does not have a cross-country train system is not normal. And I can keep going on and on about the abnormalities of this country because when you actually study other countries and how their government treats their citizens, you realize that this country doesn't care about its citizens at all. And we've been so normalized to this that when we actually see stuff like what what Mayor Mamdani is doing in New York, we act like we seen a unicorn or something. But no, that's exactly what a mayor is supposed to do. Surprise, surprise, but our government is supposed to take care of us. That's why we pay taxes. That's normal. That's what's supposed to happen. We as a society just accepted our government treating us like a stepchild, and that's not normal. But y'all let me know what y'all think. I see y'all in the next one. Peace.
Okay, who has been seeing the videos about all the new 2027 vehicles are going to supposedly have AI in them and determine whether you are fit enough to drive? I wanted to share my experience because I feel like this kind of stuff is already in our vehicles. I have a 2025 Yukon XL AT4 Ultimate. I don't know if it's just the Ultimate package that does this, but my Yukon does some weird stuff. So it does have a camera in it, and if you like turn your head to the side a certain way or something, it'll buzz at you and it'll tell you to keep your eyes on the road. That's the first thing I noticed. The second thing I noticed is it happens a lot whenever I am driving like a long distance, and I will say I'm a very anxious driver. I don't like driving at night. Most of it's happened whenever I drive at night, but a notification will come on my dash and it'll tell me stress detected, and it'll like do it over and over and over. Third is the freaking weirdest thing that has happened so far. It's after I finally did an update in my car. This happened back in March, and I was driving about an hour away at night on the freeway. I was in deep thought, completely sober, completely awake, and my phone, my dash and my seat and my screen on my car was buzzing at me, telling me drowsiness detected. I was like, what is this? And it was saying to phone a friend, pull over. It was like giving me options, and it would not stop. Like, it was buzzing every minute. So I finally called my sister. It stopped buzzing while I was on the phone. So apparently it knew I was on the phone. And then when I got off of it, it kind of started doing it again. But it was so scary because I didn't know if my car was going to shut off. I was on the end. So I didn't know if it was going to shut off. I was in deep thought. I had just signed my lease on my new storefront location, so I was thinking about all the things. That's the only thing I can think of, but it was saying that I was drowsy when I was completely awake, sober. I don't drink and drive. I don't even drink. But y'all, this is super scary because, like I said, it was telling me that I was drowsy and I was completely awake and sober. I do have photos. I'm gonna add the photos. Okay, so here's the notification that came on my screen. It was also on my dash, and my seat was buzzing. Drowsy behavior detected, phone a friend, OnStar call, and then I think it says navigate to nearest. I don't know what that says, but as you can see, super scary behavior from a vehicle, y'all. Like, it makes me want to get an older vehicle because what is this? I do not like this.
Some people aren't really living anymore. They're just surviving quietly. They still go to work, they still pay bills, they still answer texts, still handle responsibility. So no one even notices anything's wrong. But on the inside, they feel disconnected from their own life. Like they've been stuck in survival mode for so long, they forgot what peace even feels like. And honestly, I think a lot more people feel this way than anyone realizes.
I just got an eviction notice at my apartment. Yeah. You want to know how much it costs to live in my apartment? $1,800 a month. Yup, for a 1-bedroom in Madison, Wisconsin. But needless to say, guess how much I make? Yep, guess. Get it off your chest. I guess you won't. There's no chance you'll get it. I make $7.25 an hour, the minimum wage. Yep. And it's fine. As a server, you usually rely on tips, and more times than not, I get tipped generously. But I'll tell you what, $1,800, that is 100% always more than half of my 2 combined paychecks for the month. That is right. More than half of my monthly reoccurring income goes to just paying off my rent. That's not even including my groceries, going out, electricity, all of those other things, okay? All those other expenses. That's absurd. What is wrong with Wisconsin prices? Why have they all of a sudden surged? The Midwest was supposed to be a place of peace, of stability. You could get a freaking house here for like under $200K. And now prices have gone through the roof. This is absurd. What is going on?
I'm just sitting here thinking about how difficult it is in the world to be my age. Like the age that, you know, you think about marriage, buying a home, having a family, and then you know in the back of your head that it's not the best decision financially. Like if you can only take care of yourself at the moment, you know better than to bring a child into the world that you can't give 100% to. And like in this economy, that's not, unless you have a really freaking good job, or you both have really freaking good jobs, it's not a good decision. And like, that's people's dream, you know? Picket fence, family that you never got, you know, things like that. And then it's just crapped on by the state of the world right now.
What we're looking at isn't a series of isolated glitches. It's a systemic shift where the basic functionality of our country is being handed over to billionaires and corporate algorithms, whether it's projects overriding local voices in Utah, or automotive giants installing intrusive eye tracking and stress detection systems in your family SUV. The goal remains the same: total extraction of data, compliance, and capital. When a server in the Midwest can't afford a basic apartment on minimum wage, the math has simply stopped working. Regular people aren't failing. The infrastructure around them is failing them. If you feel like you've been stuck in survival mode, detached from your own life, you need to know that this exhaustion is a completely normal response to an abnormal reality. Have you noticed your new vehicle or smartphone crossing the line from helpful tech into creepy surveillance? Drop your experiences in the comments below. Let's talk about what's actually happening out there on the ground. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.